In this week's episode of Tokyo Ghoul, Kaneki finally learns to defend himself. And it's a good thing too, because thanks to this new character Tsukiyama, he's literally going to be thrown into this old-school gladiatorial arena where he's going to have to go up against this one big, badass guy with a bone saw. This week's episode was awesome, and it still managed to be just as disturbing as the rest of the other episodes of the series, and we even got a little bit of development from some of the side characters, and we got to learn why Rise was so important to all of the other ghouls in the Tokyo area. In the beginning of the episode, you actually get to see what Toka is like in real life, and she's hanging out with one of her friends at lunch, and she's forced to eat some of her food, and then she has to throw it up later on. And this just shows how strong her conviction is, how she wants to still try and be somewhat human and live a normal life, and still be friends and interact with people. One thing that I liked about this week's episode is that Kaneki is actually going to receive a little bit of training, and this is going to be very important because the doves are looking for the ghouls, and he's being trained by the very quiet and stoic Yomo, who's a very mysterious character. They really haven't gotten into any of his backstory, but he's a man of few words, and apparently he's a badass, and he's going to be training Kaneki. And I don't know how far this is going to go, but it leads into another scene where we meet a few other ghouls. They're hanging out at this bar, and there's the one guy who is still making Kaneki's mask, which has not been introduced yet, unfortunately. But there's this one owner of this bar who is essentially giving him blood to drink, which is really creepy, especially when she just throws it right into his face. And this is all because she just wanted to see his one ghoul eye. And apparently this is an extreme rarity, and she even mentions that if a human and a ghoul mate with each other, the chances of them having a baby is pretty much like slim to none. It's pretty much not going to happen, so that's why everybody is so interested in Kaneki. But also there's the thing with Rise that they bring up again, how her death is kind of mysterious, and there could have actually been someone behind that. And we have a few culprits. Immediately when they started bringing that up, I thought, could it have been that Jason character? Because he had a small confrontation with her in the first episode. But they introduce another character in this week's episode by the name of Tsukiyama, and this guy's a freaking creep. This guy's disturbing as all hell, and he's just got, like, creepy pedo written all over his face, yet Kaneki is still continuing to hang out with the guy because they have the interest in books. But whatever, the whole point of this scene is apparently Tsukiyama is like this gourmet ghoul. He likes to eat the highest quality human flesh that he can, and even tried to get Rise in on this, but she sort of looked down on him because she sort of saw him as acting too human, and this really pissed him off. And now that Rise is gone, he can't get his revenge, but because a part of her body is now inside of Kaneki, he can now get his revenge again, and he actually wants to eat him, and he's obsessed with that. But before all of that can happen, he actually, like, brings him to this underground, like, arena where all these ghouls hang out wearing masquerade masks. And it gives off this very disturbing atmosphere, where essentially they bring humans, and they have them get killed, and then they feast on them. And at first they're kind of confused because this guy's bringing out a ghoul. They don't want to eat a ghoul, but when he mentions that he's half human, everybody starts getting into it, and we get this scene where Kaneki gets to fight against this one big-ass mofo who has this, like executioner's gear on, and he has this big bone saw, and at first he's pretty much just dominating on Kaneki, but then Kaneki finally just goes into his ghoul mode and starts to attack him. But suddenly everybody sees that he has one ghoul eye, and so does Tsukiyama, and he jumps down and he stops the fight, and this is probably the coolest part of the episode. He literally rips the big executioner guy in half by just ripping through his body, and they do censor it again by putting in the negative colors, but it's still really awesome. I can't wait to see all of this stuff, like, when it's completely uncensored. But then he finally reassures Kaneki that he's not going to let anything happen to him. But honestly, his real plan is he wants to eat him personally. And that's the end of this week's ridiculous episode. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Tokyo Ghoul? I liked it a lot. This was just another really creepy, disturbing episode. I'm a little disappointed that we haven't gotten to see Kaneki's mask yet. And I'm also really curious, like, when he's actually going to go through the transformation when he has, like, white hair. Because if you look in the intro at the very end of it, that's clearly Kaneki with white hair and a brand new look. And he looks a lot more confident and badass. And I can't wait until they finally get to that moment. I mean, even in this week's episode, he didn't do anything, like, too crazy. He didn't have, like, his tendrils exploding out of his back or anything. When he was fighting against the big executioner guy, he basically just got really pissed off, punched him once, and that was pretty much it. And then finally Tsukiyama came down. And Tsukiyama is really what made this episode, because he's a really charismatic and over-the-top villain. There are a lot of scenes this week where he does a lot of really crazy things, like when he gets pissed off and crushes his coffee cup, or the scene where he's in the bathroom sniffing the blood that came from Kaneki, and he was just having an orgasm over it. It was really creepy. Not only that, but the scenes at the very end where all, like, the ghouls were wearing masks and everything, that whole, like, scene just gave off this really disturbing vibe. And the mask that Tsukiyama was wearing was really, really creepy. It kind of reminded me of Griffith from Berserk, but it had, like, its own weird design where there was, like, a mouth where his eyeball was, and it was just really disturbing. And, of course, getting to see him rip through the freaking executioner guy was just so friggin' badass. It was awesome. A little bit of development from Toka at the beginning, Kaneki's getting some training, and there's a little bit of mystery behind the death of Rize and why Kaneki actually has her organs inside of his body. So, really good episode. I liked pretty much everything about it. I'm just really interested to see where the series is going, and they're introducing a lot of new and interesting characters, and I'm still really wanting to see what this whole Jason guy is about, and they didn't even, like, do anything with the CCG this week, which I was kind of hoping they would go back to Amon and do something with him, because he's just batshit crazy looking. But, they got a lot of stuff they have to develop for the series, and otherwise I think this was an entertaining episode. I just liked this one, but it wasn't a perfect episode. But if you're following the series, check this one out. It was awesome. Thank you guys for watching my review today. Before you go, make sure and hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. It really helps them out a lot. And please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Tokyo Ghoul. Who do you think was involved with the death of Rize? Remember, guys, you can also check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. I'll put links to those in the description box below. And make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
Do you like Amazon.com? I know I do. Corey and I now have an Amazon link in our video description box below. And if you go to it and buy anything through Amazon.com, it will support our channel. So bookmark that link, make it happen, and support our channel without having to do a damn thing.
Another great way you guys can help support our channel is by donating directly through our PayPal link in the description box below. We recommend $2 a month, although this is completely optional. But the best way to go about this is by sneaking into your mom's room and taking $2. This way, she won't even notice. And we won't have to shake you up for all of your lunch money. So guys, that concludes this review today. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.